This is a Standard Nerds podcast.
How'd you like me now?
Hello, welcome to How'd You Like Me Now, a new podcast where we go back and relive the golden days of TV for kids. So I'm your host, Will. With me, as ever, is Liz. Hello, Liz.
Hello, Will.
How are you?
I'm well, I would say.
Yeah?
Averagely well. I wouldn't like to put, too much enthusiasm into it at this stage.
Don't want to commit so much of this
No,
at this
no,
stage.
no, no.
Anyway, but this is a new podcast. We're going to be rewatching classic kids' TV from our youth, and
Should we say how old we are?
yeah, all right, okay. I'm 33, and
I'm younger than that.
yes, that's all you need to know. But no, we're going to be so each episode we're going to be taking a classic kids TV show that we used to love. We're actually going to talk about what we remember of it first, and then actually go away and watch it, and then see if what we remember is actually held up.
We'll report back, let you know how we got on, whether we were looking back with rose-tinted goggles so we now see it as a pile of crap, or whether it holds up.
Absolutely, and that's the ultimate question: is it crap? Does it hold up?
I thought the ultimate question was, how'd you like me now?
Well, it is
That's why the podcast is called that.
How do you like me now? But it's a two-part question. Okay. But anyway, so this is episode 1, and we're going to start with the CITV classic ran from 1989 to 1999, Funhouse.
It's a whole lot of fun.
There are prizes to be won.
It's a real crazy show.
Where anything can go.
Okay, so I think it's fair to say we both remember this one.
Yes, we do. I think this is a pretty big one from both of our.
I feel like it was a
youth.
staple. Like, I don't think it was my favourite show, but I think it was always there, and I always used to watch it. You know?
Yeah. I think it was that show in that time slot that everyone you definitely watched it, and I think it was I think it was also one of those ones that you wanted to be on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like of all those kids shows where they had like contestants, it's one where actually you wanted
Yes.
to go along and do that because that looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's in the title. It's fun. It's a fun house.
It's a whole lot of fun.
And there are prizes to be won. We can't keep doing that.
It's a catchy theme song though.
Well, it tells you everything you need to know about the show.
It's a Ron Seal show description. Does
Yes.
exactly what it is. It's going to be a whole lot of fun and prizes to be won.
Exactly.
And if I remember correctly, you have to use your body and your brain if you want to play the game.
Oh my God, you do. You definitely do.
So yeah, I mean, the reason obviously we should probably talk about why we're doing Funhouse as the first thing we're doing.
I think you really were nominating Funhouse, weren't
Yeah,
you?
I was. I mean, Funhouse. Yeah, again, it's a show that I have. I really remember from my youth. It's a really strong one there, and I think it's a really. I think it's going to hold up. I think really when we go back and watch it, this is going to be a solid start.
Do you? Okay.
I do. I'm putting it out there. I'm setting my stall now that I think this is going to be a good one.
I have to say, I'm not as sure. I think it'll be okay, but I think it might be more boring than you remember because I don't know. I just get the feeling that like nowadays TV shows are a lot more fast paced, and that we might look back on this and be like, "Wow, this was dull."
I mean, there's always a risk of that, but I think I'll be happy. I'll be happy if I'm proven right, and this actually
Of
should
course.
definitely come back.
I'll be happy if you're proven right
Yeah.
because it's fun.
Well, I'll tell you who else will be happy: Pat Sharp.
We should definitely talk about Pat
We should
Sharp.
definitely talk about Pat Sharp. Now, obviously, part of the genesis for this is a story that I was told about Pat Sharp when he was doing DJing at various universities.
Yeah, so Pat Sharp is the host and the seminal mullet wearer, I think, of our generation.
He is. I mean, he rocked a mullet like no other.
Indeed. And as so often happens, his career after Funhouse is probably not worth talking about, but he has made money from doing DJ sets at uni nights.
Yeah, I mean, I to my great shame, I did look this up once. That basically, yeah, he did Funhouse, and then he's done various radio gigs from like, I think he did like BBC Radio 1 kind of gig or maybe something like that, and then gradually it's gone down. And I think last thing I saw a few years ago, he was in Australia DJing, but he went through a spell, certainly I think mid-2000s, of doing DJ nights at various universities. And the story I was told was when he came to my university, and this I think was a year before I started, was that he'd been doing this DJ night and he was playing a song, a hit song of the day, probably something by the Killers, and he faded down and yelled into the mic, "Who remembers the Twins?" And everyone went, "Hey!" Faded the mic back up. Faded the mic back down, goes, "Slept with them both." And everyone goes, "Boo!"
Amazing story because, yes, I remember the Twins. That's something I remember because they were kind of like dressed as two cheerleaders, and they would shepherd around the kids on the show. So you'd have I think you'd have a red and a yellow team.
Yeah.
And one of the twins would be dressed in red and yellow, and they'd shepherd you around, and they didn't seem that much older than the kids themselves. They were like two fun twins, keeping the levels of enthusiasm up on the show. And Pat Sharp saying, "Did them both," is exactly the kind of thing that ruins your youth.
It really does. It really does.
True or not, doesn't matter. The fact that he said it just puts a whole different complexion on the show for me.
I mean, it absolutely. It would be like hearing Harry Potter, massive coke habit. That's not what you want to hear.
No, you don't.
That's just going to ruin that. You're thinking of him running around the set of Chamber of Secrets, coked off his eyeballs.
Ron seems much more likely.
Ron does seem much more likely. Don't know why, though. Don't know why.
So you've nominated Funhouse because it's already been partially ruined for you. You want to see if there's anything good still left there.
Yeah, I mean, I still, for me, it's still one of those shows that when I was a kid, I really wanted to be on. I always wanted to watch. And I think it just had so much going for it.
Okay, so let's talk more about what was good about it, apart from what it says in the theme tune. What do we remember about Funhouse?
I remember, obviously there were the go-karts.
The go-karts, I remember.
You got to drive a go-kart, which was incredibly cool at that time because
and there was grabbing.
Yeah, there was grabbing of things.
Stuff.
Yeah. There was the massive assault course at the end, this huge thing with massive ball pit and rollers and everything else.
That's the final round, isn't it? You go into this massive.
Yeah, it's like a wacky warehouse, but condensed down into a TV studio.
And it's just for you because you're playing the final round.
Yeah, that's it.
And your teammate.
Yeah, and you have to grab things and you get prizes, and you got. It seemed like masses of prizes, hundreds of really good prizes.
So that's one of the things you're expecting from this, is for the prizes to be really awesome.
Yeah, I'm expecting this to be, better than Bullseye levels of prize equivalency.
Whoa, you can't be just throwing out all sorts of game shows there.
But no, I think, that's the kind of thing I'm hoping for, is
good prizes.
Really good prizes.
Go-karts still seem awesome.
Go-karts, high energy throughout.
I hope so. I do remember, the thing about Use Your Body, Use Your Brain is it seemed mostly like Use Your Body.
Yeah.
It's mostly children doing things that would be dangerous if everything wasn't brightly coloured plastics. Throwing yourself about, and I don't know, were there different rounds every single episode?
Well, I think it always ended with that same thing, and the go-karts were always there.
Yeah,
but I think there may have been another round that did vary. I'm sure there was another round, but I can't remember really any details of it.
And there was a big crowd cheering, wasn't there?
Yeah.
This is another staple thing of these shows.
Yeah.
It's like a crowd of kids all yelling.
Yeah, that kind of Price is Right thing of actually any of those kids could easily be coming down to...
Come on down!
That's it. Yeah, I remember that. And it's... Yeah, they're always in... you had two teams of two. Mm. And so I think on the go-karts, they'd always swap over. And I think even on the final thing, they even swapped over and they'd have to
relay style.
Yeah, relay styles, try and sort of pick out different things.
I think it seems like we remember this really well.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot of detail.
Again, I think this was kind of a seminal kids show.
What did you say it was on for 10 years?
It was on for 10 years. It was on from February 89 to December 99. So it was...
So that's before I can remember until I went to secondary school, basically. So this is, I think we remember this pretty well. I don't think there's going to be a lot of surprises in this for us.
No, I don't think so. I think, but, I'm excited to see. So we are going to go off now and watch some Funhouse.
Watch a couple of episodes from a couple of different years.
Yes.
See how it progressed.
Yeah, get a little bit of a flavour of it over time, and then we will report back our findings.
Okay.
Duncan, I'm blind! Okay, so we've just watched a couple of episodes of Funhouse from points throughout its 10-year run. Liz, what did you think?
I quite enjoyed it. I think going into it, we knew we remembered it quite well.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much what I remembered.
It was. There are bits I'd forgotten.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten like the sort of the 3 games. I think I always remember the Grand Prix and the final run, but I'd forgotten the games before.
Yeah, so I think part of the reason we forgot them is because they were different every episode.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they probably did some a few times, but I was impressed with the willingness to injure children that those games brought. The health and safety basically didn't exist.
No, and I feel that's something that's lacking from kids' TV these days, is actually a willful disregard for human safety.
Absolutely, yeah.
It should be there.
So I think my favourite for that was one that we saw where dressing up was also a feature of those games.
Yeah, it was.
So the kids, I think it was the 2 girls, were dressed as penguins. So they had this kind of big fluffy penguin suit on, which had a kind of skirt at the bottom.
Yeah.
Their feet were free, but they were having to climb stairs and then go down a slide into Gunge, come out of the Gunge, go back up the stairs and go in again. And so the Gunge, penguin skirt, barefoot combo, stairs, that whole thing was really quite unnecessarily dangerous.
It was, and the sense I got from watching, because a few games on all of these, is that even before the gun gets involved, the floor is incredibly slippy. And it's almost like they've approached this, the producers, and gone, okay, what's funnier than a child falling over? Nothing. How can we ensure they fall over? Let's just put grease on all the floors.
What's funnier than a child falling over? All of the children repeatedly falling over.
Yes.
That's what we want.
That's it.
That must have been the pitch for the show, is we're going to get kids and we're just going to make them fall down.
That's it. That's got to be it. We're just going to put kids in danger. That's always it's child.
Which I'm in favour of.
I am. I mean
honestly.
Ritualised, serialised child endangerment. I mean, it's fantastic. I tell you another thing I'd forgotten is the let's rerun the fun.
Rerun the fun, yes.
After all of the games, and bar sort of the Grand Prix in the end, but the games at the start, Pat Sharp turns to the camera and goes, "Let's rerun the fun," and you basically get a recap of what you've just watched, but now with some computer graphic words over it.
Yeah, it's 1 or 2 shots with words in the style of Batman, comics where they got kapow, but instead of kapow, it's wacky and cool, and I think at one point
grooviness,
cool mess,
that was it. Yes,
which not cool.
No,
but I did enjoy Rerun the Fun, even though they were all shots that we'd literally just looked at. But
yeah. I mean, I kind of got the sense that it was more it was time in the 90s where, e-numbers were just rife, everyone was packed full of sugar, and you needed something to keep kids' attention. So they've just seen a high-energy game. We need to keep their attention now. Let's play them that same game again, but let's add some bright, shiny, flashing colour words over the top of it.
See, and I got the feeling that the episodes were running short, and so they just added in some crap.
Yeah, well, all the bits where he goes... I mean, this is the thing that really struck me about it is... it starts and it's high energy, and Pat Sharp comes running in on a pogo stick or a scooter or on one of the go-karts, and he's doing handbrake turns on this, and there's massive cheers, and then suddenly it's, right, okay, so we've got some kids here.
Yeah.
And the energy just drops to nothing, and then there's a cheer, and then the energy drops to nothing, and they play a game, and it's great, energy's up, and then he comes back and it drops to nothing again.
I would bet good money that Pat Sharp did not like children, because... We started off, I was like, this is going to be terrible, because the first interview he did with the kids at the beginning, I didn't understand a word that they said. He was interviewing a kid, possibly with an accent. There was this thing about, you speak Hegel-Pegel language, and I have no idea what him and that kid were talking about, but it is so awkward.
It really is. And I mean, this is the thing. I guess maybe he doesn't like kids, but I get the sense, especially the early episodes, he's really trying. He's really trying to get these kids to do it.
But the kids are dead wood, that's what you think.
Yeah,
blame
basically,
the kids.
Blame the kids. The kids are letting the side down because, he's got the energy. Melanie and Martina have got the energy, and we'll come to them. By the end of it, none of them can be fucked anymore. They really just can't be asked.
I noticed a considerable downturn in energy from the 1990 episode we watched to the 1997 episode which we watched, because I felt the first one, you're right, Pat Sharp came in on a pogo stick, and then 1997, he comes out, the mullet's gone, he looks a bit sad. I just felt sorry for him. I was like, I'm not surprised it ended 2 years later.
Yeah, I mean, the energy, they seem like the effort appeared to drop. Like, they, as the show's gone on, they start off with this one fun house, and it's got, like the balloon runs and little, like, it's more like a wacky warehouse. And then by the end of it, it's got, like, massive chutes and, like, fireman's poles, and it's got a bobsled that they can jump in and come down. And that thing's got much better, and the games are bigger, and, they've done all sorts of stuff. But at the same time, it's gone from, let's put Pat in this mullet and whatever crazy clothes we can find. And he's doing jokes about how mad his clothes are. But at the end of it, he's just wearing a t-shirt and jeans. It's just like he's rocked up and gone, yeah, another one? All right, we'll knock out 3, and then I'm going to be back in the pub.
Yeah, he's ready to get back to Radio 5 Live or whatever he's doing. Yeah, but speaking of things that what I didn't remember was the funhouse with its kind of car wash entrance.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that, I was back. I was like, oh yeah. They have to sort of like push past these 2 big rollers from a car wash to get into it. And I did remember how, like, when you were watching it, desperate you were to get in and have your turn.
Oh God, yeah.
Because they have in the end round, one kid goes, collects 3 big tags, which are the prizes, and then the next kid goes and collects 3 tags, and so they kind of they take it in turns, and that kind of sitting at home, that desperation of, no, don't go up the netting, go through the chute, you fool.
That's where the big prize is hidden.
Yeah. Oh, can we talk about prizes?
Let's talk about prizes.
Because you said you made a prediction that you said you remembered awesome prizes and there being loads of them.
Yeah.
There were loads of them.
There were loads of them, and some of them were awesome. Some of them, I will admit, were pretty crap, and some of them were kind of similar to each other. It's like, here's an art set, here's a pen set, here's a stationery set.
Yeah, here's a badminton racket, and then separately, here is a bag to carry a racket in. And it's like, you went to some kind of sponsor who gave you a racket and a case, and you were like, well, we can make that into 2 prizes. But what's got to be my favourite of the prizes were from 1990, because the prizes that came up, like, obviously there are a lot of out-of-date things.
Yeah.
There were Walkmans and headphones in there, and like big spongy headphones that you wouldn't get now.
Yeah.
But my favourite was the briefcase.
Oh, the briefcase. I mean, that's not what I thought a briefcase was.
It's kind of a satchel.
It is. It's almost like, to describe it, it's almost like a briefcase shape, but made of white canvas on a massive shoulder strap.
Yeah. It's satchely. There's a type of briefcase I feel like old men used to have, which is more like a kind of, I don't know.
Like the old leather one with like the fold-over flap.
With a fold-over flap.
Yeah.
It's like that, but made of canvas. So it's like a child's briefcase, which I don't think is a thing you would even consider having now.
No.
A child's briefcase.
Backpack, satchel.
Backpack is a normal thing. Briefcase, I was like, wow. And they're calling it a briefcase? Not a bag, not a school bag.
No.
Briefcase.
Yeah, they didn't just say it once. They said it a lot. They said the briefcase several times.
Also on that episode, jeans.
Yeah.
Just jeans.
Who doesn't love some jeans?
Not designer jeans, not, these are really good jeans. Just jeans. And walking boots.
Yeah. Walking boots as well. But I think my favourite prize, sorry, I have to say from 1990.
They just raided like a TJ Hughes or something. It's all the crap things that you would find in one of those stores that sell a load of shit off really cheap.
Absolutely.
It's the central aisle at Lidl or Aldi or something. It's like, just grab all this shit. Don't matter what it is. Doesn't matter that they're kids. Give them anything.
But this is the thing. I wonder if this was an approach that ITV took to prizes, because Bullseye had the same thing, where it was a case of all the prizes were lifted from one old department store in Lincoln, where it's a case of what have we got on the back?
What didn't sell well, and we can give away for free. Yeah, I know, because you get this with the Price is Right, don't you? You see them and you're like, okay, nobody would have paid money for that, so that's obviously why that's become a prize.
Yeah.
It's like the sale rail. You think it's going to be a bargain, then you see it and you're like, you know what? Actually, no. I can see why that didn't sell.
Yeah, I mean, but I never believed The Price is Right, getting off topic, because it's like, here is this, toaster. How much do you think this toaster is? No, it was £149. Where are you buying this stuff from? That it is so expensive.
Yeah, I know. So the prizes in the 1990 version were pretty bad. 97, do you think they were any better?
I think they were a little better.
Marginally, because there were no briefcase or walking boots.
Marginally. I think there were more. I mean, I think what I would say is I think the Star Prize definitely got better.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Because, I mean, but this I think was one of the great appeals of like Funhouse, was that obviously you went on as a pair of kids and you didn't just win, here is one lot of things and you have to split it. You won two of everything. So you each got a pair of walking boots. You each got a pair of jeans.
Yeah, you don't have to share the walking boots, guys. You're fine.
You each got a microscope, which was in the 1990s.
Microscope, nice.
But I think by the end of it, but there's a bit of difference in them. Like, there's selection of game Walkman, there's a pen set, there's this badminton kit, but also there's a frisbee.
Yeah, they're not all winners.
No, what that says to me is that they had something better and someone from the crew nicked it. And it's like, what have we got lying around in the Lust of a Pound?
There's just a big room, isn't there, where like loads of free shit that people have collected is just hanging out, and they're like, yeah, stick that in. We've already got like a pen set this week. Not every prize has to be a winner.
One of those secret rooms in Hogwarts where you go in and everything is there from thousands of years. Oh, let's get out.
Except it's all plastic and made of shit.
Let's get out those pogo sticks from Series 1.
Like fashion watches. That was another one they had.
Watches.
I assume they have to be called fashion because they immediately stop working. They work for a day. That's all.
That's it. But, I mean,
just for fashion.
But the Power Prize from like 97.
Power Prize, which I'd forgotten the noise for the Power Prize, is that cock crowing. And when I heard that, I was like, yes, I remember.
That's it. I mean, but yeah, that Power Prize is sort of, again, it's that thing of where is it? And like, and it zooms in on where it is.
Yeah.
And you end up finding yourself going, go on, just go up there. No, don't go right, go left.
There yet. Yeah.
But that Power Prize, a full, like a computer, a printer, speakers. I mean, it looked like the first computer I had.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty decent size sort of thing to have.
It wasn't, but it did look like my compact Presario from 1995. Which came with Encarta 95.
Oh, Encarta.
Yes. So they had that as a star prize, which is, I think that was definitely a decent prize back then, definitely. But my favourite was not actually one of the prizes from the Funhouse.
Oh.
My favourite to see, which I had forgotten about, was the Funhouse bomber jacket.
The Funhouse bomber jacket.
Which is a black, shiny bomber jacket. Very, very cheap material, I would assume, with Funhouse emblazoned on the back, which the twins model, and I think is getting given to the losing
I think it
team.
is. But the thing is, it's 18 sizes too big on the twins.
Yeah,
and the twins are grown adults.
Well, you say that.
I think they were by the end of the series.
By the end of it, they are.
By the end of it, everyone has aged terribly. But I mean, one of my favourite prizes, actually, and I'd completely forgotten about it until we watched this, and it's from the 1990 episode. They had the mystery tour. Now, I don't remember them explaining what the mystery tour was, even when you got it. The image for it was just, here's a model bus on a map. And I was like, that's just sketchy. You couldn't do that. No, you couldn't say you've won a mystery tour. No. Where are you going? Oh, it's a mystery. No. That's not okay. That's not okay.
No, that was never explained, which I assume there wasn't time. With all the, rewinds, there wasn't time to explain that. But I feel like we could do a whole section on You Couldn't Get Away With It Now. Yeah, so I think specifically I'm thinking of one of the beginning rounds that we talked about, which was based on Chop Suey. And they had to, for this, the boys had to throw some noodles, which were meant to be chop suey, but looked more like worms, in gunge, onto a plank and then karate chop it. And it was introduced by Pat Sharp in an accent, I would say, was so inaccurate that it probably wasn't offensive to anyone. But it was definitely, it was that uncomfortable line of, Oh, now here comes the racism.
Well, the thing I got from that, the sense I got was that it was an uncomfortable thing. I think Pat Sharp was the most uncomfortable with this. I think he knew that this was pretty offensive.
Oh, you're giving
and just,
Pat Sharp quite a lot of
yeah,
credit there.
and I think that's why he didn't sell it very well, because it was quite...
Maybe he just can't do a stereotypically offensive Asian accent.
I mean, I got the sense I got really was he can't really do many accents. He hasn't got much conviction when he approaches.
Hasn't got the range.
Yeah, when he only approaches these accents, or even the terrible jokes he's got to say. I mean, it's even bits where they've given him like massive balls of guns and they want him to dump it on the kids, and he's like, "Oh, no, I wouldn't do that." And it's almost a sense of not like a jokey, like, "Oh no," it's more like, "No, I'm not going to do that. I just, it might be my contract, but I'm not going to do it."
That is something that you don't get when you're a child and watching it as an adult. You're like, "Oh yeah, Pat Sharp was quite uncomfortable with this show." A lot of this, he's not enjoying that.
No.
But the karate chopping round was for the boys. So the teams seem to be always like mixed sex, as one boy and one girl.
Yeah.
So the boys got karate chopping and the girls got to be witches, which again I found a little... I don't think you get away with it now. It was a little gendered. And definitely you wouldn't get away with it now, is they put a witch's nose on one of the girls, and Pat Sharp said something along the lines of, "I won't give you a kiss because you're not very pretty now," which I don't think you should have given her a kiss anyway,
That's
Pat
a
Sharp.
child, Pat.
As a child, also, you shouldn't be judging whether you're going to kiss children on whether they're pretty or not. Also, people with witches' noses, maybe they can be pretty.
Yeah.
It's probably something I should say. Somebody out there's got a witch's nose.
Absolutely. Possibly a witch. But witches
Exactly.
aren't.
So, yeah, a sort of a very... you wouldn't get away with it now moment.
No, and I mean, yeah, that's sort of the whole... All the games basically followed the same principle, though, which was get X number of things into X receptacle.
Yes, which leads to my favourite thing that I'd forgotten, which is the twins and their counting.
Yes.
So basically, after every round finishes, the twins have some sort of receptacle which they have to dig Gungy items out of and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yay! We got 4. Which
Always with pom-poms as well.
Yeah,
pom-poms.
I really enjoyed that. I'd forgotten that they did that, but that was their primary function, really.
They are there to bring the energy up.
And count Gungy shit. Can I just say, though, I don't know how this happened, but the episode that we chose from 1997, the twins, these two, blonde ladies who are, I don't know, their accents say Essex to me, come out in what you and I could not decide the correct term to call it, but I think we settled on cornrows.
Yeah, they were very, very fine braids, but like plastered along their head and then hanging down at the back. And
they weren't plastered on their head; they came directly from the head, which is why I don't know if cornrows is the correct term.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there is a hair specialist, I don't know if cornrows is the term for that, but yeah, they're very, very, very small braids coming directly from the head. Though there was no going
else.
along the head,
just braids.
But it was not along the scalp.
No,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
But I thought for a moment that they were tiny dreadlocks, but they weren't.
No, I mean that would have been madness. A step too far. I think
it was already madness. They looked mad, and they're twins. You would think that they would one of them would do that for individuality's sake. Like the drive to individuality would send them insane, and they would choose cornrows for their stringy blonde hair, and yet they both did it.
You can't have individuality of the twins on this. The whole point is that they're twins.
But they're adults. They're not like, two little cute twins at school who've been dressed that way by their mother. They're adults.
Well, yeah, this is the suspension of disbelief, is to try and make it seem like they're still children.
But that's not like putting your hair up in a bun, Will. That's a time commitment hairstyle.
Well, that's why they cut.
That's going to be with you for a while.
That's why they cut Pat Sharp's mullet. I mean, Pat Sharp's mullet is an artwork in itself. It's enormous. It's the biggest mullet I've ever seen. I mean, it's
That is true,
practically
actually.
down to his waistband, the
That
long
is true.
bit.
It's a really
And
big
the
mullet.
bouffant is huge. It adds like an extra 6 inches to the top of his head. You know,
Yeah.
they lose that and they give him just a basic sort of, centre parted, that 90s cut, centre parted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fluffy on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're good. And, he's now just in a t-shirt and jeans, not in like the crazy, mad, wacky late 80s, early 90s Prince he was. They've got to do something with the twins just to keep the visual distraction up.
Well, you say that, but I'd have done almost anything else with the twins to keep the visual distraction up.
I tell you what, though, speaking of the twins, starting to watch it and seeing it go through did bring me right back to a memory from my childhood, which is thinking of what I'm going to pose this as a question. What are your impressions of the twins separately? What's your impressions of Melanie and of Martina? Melanie's always the yellow team.
Melanie's always the yellow team. I feel like if I answer this question, I'm going to say something incredibly harsh.
Okay.
Let's just say there's almost no difference between the twins, but there has to be an ugly twin.
Right.
Like that's my only impression of their difference.
Okay, not the route I was going to go down, but fair enough.
Well, no, I didn't think so.
No.
I wondered why you would be asking me just to slag off one of the twins.
What it was, right? I remember when I was a kid thinking of I'd really like to go on Funhouse, but remember always been thinking I wouldn't want to be with Melanie because she seems mean.
The yellow one?
Yeah, Martina seems really nice because she's really smiling. Anytime I've watched it...
that was not my impression at all.
No, but when I've watched it back, Melanie is the one who's manhandling them, who's grabbing by the arm, who's like, no, stand there, you go over there. And Martina's like, okay, no, and she's shepherding gently. I think Martina seemed like the nicer one.
So you used to want to be on the yellow?
No, I didn't want to be on the yellow team. I'd want to be on the red team.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't want to be on the yellow team. Not with Melanie. She seems mean.
Is that from the past or now? Or both?
Both.
Oh, okay, so your impression hasn't changed?
No, that's...
You'd want to be on the red team?
Yes, it was a memory I have when I was a kid that I wouldn't want to be on the yellow team because Melanie seemed mean, and watching it back confirmed that.
Okay, not only are these women twins, they're playing exactly the same role. I don't know how you feel that there's a difference between them. There isn't a difference apart from one of them slightly uglier.
No, she's meaner. She's more...
No, that's not... that's a different one.
What? No, you're wrong. Martina, in the red team, Martina...
You think the red's more attractive?
No, I think she's nicer.
Oh my god, what are you
And I
talking
think
about?
objectively she is more attractive.
No, she's the ugly one.
No, she's... What? You're mad, woman.
Okay, so I guess we both get a twin. That's what has happened here.
But who's going to get Pat?
Oh god.
We can't cut Pat in half.
Pat can have himself.
Pat can have himself.
Which I imagine is how he prefers it.
Oh, but I mean, that was... So the twins, obviously, they are the cheerleaders of the show.
Yes, literally, they are the cheerleaders.
Literally cheerleaders of the show. And this is... like we've always said, they bring the energy up. The one thing that I was and I think this is a function of kids' TV that I think has been lost, is this thing of whenever you're also introduced with what school you go to. Not just your name, your age, and where you're from, but your name, your age, and what school you go to.
Yeah, that seemed important at the time. But I assume they just chose people from schools, and that's why it was all about that. But yeah, did the go-karting live up to your remembrance of it?
Absolutely.
It did, didn't it?
100% it did. Right. Straight back to the kid. I really want to be on those go-karts again.
Go-karts seemed really fun, especially when they crashed into a bit of the set.
Yeah.
And it looked like it was all going to come down. I was like, yeah, this go-karting is for real.
Well, this is the thing. I thought, before watching it, I thought, oh, okay, when I was a kid, I thought it seemed like they go pretty slow, but it still looks like fun. And I assumed it'd be like little crappy, like battery-powered, like go-karts. But no, these are proper, like petrol carts.
He actually mentions that they're petrol at one point.
He does. And I think clearly there have been some injuries because 1990, they're basically just getting into this thing. They're attaching things onto the side of the wheels. They're wearing a little sort of foam rubber helmet.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, they're wearing like full like flame retardant like racing suits, massive full-on crash helmets, and they're not going any faster. So clearly at some point, some kid has massively injured themselves.
Yeah, the go-karting was cool. And him, when we saw the chunky plastic tokens that you collect on the way round, and they were going into the slot to be counted, all the points, I got such a sense of satisfaction from those.
Yep.
It was like, you know how people like into ASMR because it like sets off some like sense that you didn't know you had? That was that with me. I was like, oh, the chunky plastic.
It is.
Oh,
Well,
I didn't know I was missing this. Some part of my childhood is attached to Pat Sharp feeding plastic tokens into a clear Perspex case. And I was so into it. I was like, I would just watch this on a loop.
I'll tell you what really makes it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that plastic container is massive.
I could talk about this all day. So
good. The plastic container is massive. It's far too big for the number of tokens that actually can collect.
Yeah, because you don't need to get a handful, yeah.
But it's the noises as well. It's the when it drops in, it's the dung, and then that like clatter as it lands.
Yeah.
That's such a satisfying noise.
Lovely clatter.
That is such a
But
satisfying
there's something
noise.
about how chunky they are in his hand, like he has to kind of manipulate them around. I might have. Yeah, I probably should stop there because it's gone a whole weird direction.
That is undoubtedly the most satisfying bit of the show.
It was very disappointing to me that the 1997 one, they just banged on like red buttons on the walls.
Yeah.
They were like those like emergency stop kind of buttons that you get, which, you know, everybody wants to press the emergency stop button, but at the same time, I was really into that chunky plastic for some reason.
Well, I think it's because it is more satisfying. It's that attainment of I've actually got a thing, and it made me think that I think the reason probably they ditched that, it goes back to the cartoon thing, is probably because they always say stick them wherever, and so you drop them in your seat or in your lap or anything else.
They don't say stick them wherever because
Pat
you're
Sharp
not allowed to say that to children.
Again, this goes back to things you can't say anymore. Pat Sharp definitely said that at one point.
Okay.
Put them in your lap, put them in your feet, wherever. But I think the main thing it was, you know, I imagine because it's as you're going around, you have to grab them. Some kid at some point dropped one, went down to reach it, and got his hand under the wheel of the car.
Oh my god! Why are you imagining all these horrific injuries?
That's the only reason I can think.
That never happened. That would have been on the news.
Well, yeah, they wouldn't have put it on. I don't know. You know this.
Okay, that never happened to a kid.
This kind of thing might have been coming.
You're sick. You're trying to ruin the plastic tokens for me,
No.
and it's not okay.
I apologise. But I mean, the other thing I think there's obviously they so when they're doing the Grand Prix, they do the first lap and then they switch over and do a second lap.
Yeah.
And in the 1990 episode, they have to change. They have to stick a spare. They have to change a wheel out, like pseudo change a wheel out because they have something stuck on the outside of one of the wheels. But they are still getting out and going around. But when we go to 97, there's suddenly 3 laps. They seem to be driving a lot quicker.
Well, yeah, they had a lap just for speed.
Yeah.
Just for the need for speed. And it was cool. The whole foam wheel thing was obviously like rubbish and they got rid of it. But by 97, they figured out their shit and it's just, let's go as quickly as possible and it's cool and yeah, I still like that bit.
Yeah, no, I'm well on board for that. I think that is really like one of the highlights of the show because obviously the fun house at the end is like
these are the things we remembered are the Grand Prix and the fun house at the end.
Yeah,
and they are the coolest bits.
They are.
The other games are kind of throwaway because they changed all the time.
Yeah,
and they're still fun because there's loads of gunge, kids falling over, hurting themselves, and they have kind of ridiculous concepts. So. We talked about like the Chop Suey one, but there was also one which was an Elvis themed one. The girls were dressed as Elvis. They were in a pool. The boys were Hawaiian dancers with their poor naked torsos and a grass skirt.
Not okay. Not okay.
Yeah, again, probably wouldn't do that now.
Nope.
But you know, they're fun. They were like crazy concepts.
Yeah, they also. I mean,
it's like the Crystal Maze when you watch that, and there's all different like games every single week.
Yeah.
You watch it just to see what they're going to be.
Definitely. I mean, it was that thing of, kids' TV, the golden age of it, which this whole thing is about, where kids' TV ran on gunge. And it shows like this, like Get Your Own Back, like, all the others where it's just gallons
Basically
of the stuff.
those two.
Basically those two, but I swear there was
They used to have them on Saturday morning TV, I think, as well.
Yeah, you used to have Live and Kicking, masses of gunge on everything. And that's what you really liked as a kid. It was always this, just this
of course,
huge slimy substance and just
absolutely
the opportunity to get messy and everything else. But I mean,
did you have some facts about Funhouse that were going to blow my mind?
I did have one interesting fact about Funhouse.
Oh, only one, okay.
Just one that's going to blow your mind. They, at one point, towards the end of the run of Funhouse, they filmed a pilot for an adult version of Funhouse.
Adult Funhouse.
An adult Funhouse.
Wow.
Hosted by a former Page 3 model.
I'm sorry, they were trying to film Funhouse without Pat Sharp.
They were. Without Pat
Page
Sharp.
3 model.
A former Page 3 model was going to host it, and one of the contestants was Carol Smiley.
Oh, wow. Okay, I thought we couldn't be any more 90s, but Carol Smiley.
I know.
That's the ultimate 90s celebrity.
But see, because I read about this and I said, it says it's an adult version of the thing. And then it said hosted by former Page 3 model. I went, well, how adult?
Yeah.
How adult are we talking? It's just
like some sort of Jim Davidson fantasy where all the contestants are big-bosomed, glamour models in bikinis sliding around in gunge.
Well, yeah, I thought, is this going to be like...
Because I'd still watch it, but, I'd be offended.
Yeah, is this just going to be a scale... Is this just going to be a scale-up to suddenly make everything much, much bigger and have it as adults? Or is it like Keith Chegwin Naked Jungle kind of adult, where it's just sex-themed games? Because if it's the latter, I can see definitely why it didn't get past the pilot stage. I question why it got to the pilot stage.
Yes.
But if it's the former, how has that not been made? Someone should be working on that right now.
Well, they brought back Crystal Maze, and I do think, I think adults would go on Funhouse.
Absolutely they would. I think for anything, a lot of the kids who are on it then are adults now. Get them back.
Get them back.
Get them back in. See if they've got any better.
I was really curious about all the kids. Like, they asked one kid what she was going to be when she was older, and she said, I'm going to be the boss of a business. And she didn't get what business. I was like, oh, I really hope she's a boss. Although, at another point, Pat Sharp held up a hand for a high five and she punched it. So maybe boss of a business is too high an aspiration for her.
She's just a kid.
Yeah, you're too nice.
I am. But I think, that's the thing I like about that. These kids aren't going like they want to be a professional footballer and this. They're actually coming down with, most of them, he's like asking, what do you like to do at school? And they're like, oh, I don't know, anything really. I'll just, whatever.
I genuinely think that we have changed as a nation in our kind of expectations for real people on TV are so much higher now. Like, you expect any little segment where they're talking to a real person to flow, and for even a child to have a decent answer. And that was just not the case back then. It was like, yeah, what's your favourite subject at school? I don't mind. Oh, okay, well, that's awkward. We just move on.
And that's it. I realise now, I was blaming Pat Sharp for the drop in energy, but really, it's these bloody kids.
I told you, Deadwood.
Deadwood. Oh.
But yeah, a celebrity funhouse, sex-themed funhouse, I'd probably watch either.
Coming to ITV and Channel 5, respectively.
Exactly.
So, but Liz, I think this is, now we get to the key question.
Yes.
We've had our initial impressions, we've gone back and we've rewatched and we've discussed. So we have to ask for Funhouse, how do you like me now?
I honestly think it's exactly as good as I remembered. It's not an intellectual pursuit. It's fun. It's a house, which is fun. It's Funhouse. It's
a whole lot of fun.
Don't start. It was as good as I expected. I think a kid could sit down and watch that now. They might be confused if they saw you asking the kids where the 1988 Olympics was held, which was one of the questions. But I think they would enjoy it. It's got all the fun that I remembered, and only marginally more sexism and racism than I would like.
And violence towards children.
No, I'm okay with that. It's harmless violence, it might break your arm, but who cares?
Yeah, it'd be fine. You get to go home with a jacket at the end of the day.
Or a briefcase. Yeah. So no, I think I like it. It's as good as I remembered.
Fair enough. Do you think it should make a comeback?
I think it could quite easily. Because it's such a simple format of just getting kids to play silly games. I think it would still be fun, and the go-karts are cool. And yeah, it could definitely make a comeback. Although maybe not with Pat Sharp.
Oh, see, no, I feel like it definitely holds up. It's it's better than I remember because there's elements I'd forgotten, and I think if you're going to bring it back, You absolutely have to have Pat Sharp in charge.
Do you not think there's a creep factor with a really old presenter?
I think it would. I think what it should
I
be.
hate to say really old. I understand that he's,
I think you should almost bring it back like they did
40s?
for
50s.
Blockbusters recently, where Dara O'Brien was hosting it, and they've steered into the shitness of actually going, let's have spot prizes that are genuinely crap.
So bring back Pat Sharp and make him wear a fake mullet.
Absolutely. Make him wear a fake mullet.
And the Timmy Mallet clothes.
And don't have it with 9 and 10 and 13-year-olds. Have it with students. Like proper, 17, 18, 19-year-old students.
Wow.
Trying to do it on the kid-sized course.
But they're exactly the wrong age because they're too young. Students now don't remember Funhouse.
Well, all the more reason to get them on it. The students now don't remember Blockbusters, but they're still playing it on day.
Please don't write in if you're a student who does remember Funhouse. I get it. You're fun and different and you know everything about stuff before you were born. Me too, so fuck off.
Basically, if you were born after 1999, you don't remember Funhouse.
Exactly.
Don't even try and fool us. It just is not true. But there we are. So, join us next time for another episode of How Do You Like Me Now?
This is a Standard Nerds podcast.